Okay, so welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for October 28th, 2022. We'll flip over to like our standard approach of looking at the issues which are tagged with milestone 11, I think it is. Does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share before we get going? Okay, if not, I'm going to share that thing. We do have a few less people here this week, so we may skip through some of the issues where we don't have people to sort of lead the discussion. So I think to drive towards full coverage, I think Jack told us he wasn't going to be able to make it. We did I think I landed one of his PRs from last week, and there's still one that he's working on Kevin on, but I don't think I have any other updates unless anybody else has on that one.
Nope.
In terms of better coverage on the Node API on YouTube, I don't know that I don't have any updates. I know Nick who's not here today, and Kevin, I think we're the two we're going to mostly be looking at that. So I don't think we have any updates either.
Do you think it's just worth maybe to collect on a list existing YouTube videos, just kind of references?
I think it's like it definitely is useful to throw any of those links of existing ones into here. So if you've got some existing ones,
yeah, you did
right?
some initial presentation in the past, and I think Kevin and Gabriel did this presentation. So I think at least if we have something existing on the list, it'll be still good.
Some existing present link to issue links to some existing. Some include, and we can probably let's just search right now and add a few.
Right.
Node API.
And if somebody else from community produces something, we may ask them to create an issue and add to this list. So technically, right, we can create all content ourselves. It's better to if somebody has
absolutely. So no, I was going to see what shows up here. Okay, this is not a video. Actually, maybe we should just say YouTube, right? So this is a really old one.
But it's still kind of up to date.
Yeah, so let me, because that is a nice thing that we don't change the API too much. So here's another one. Just going to copy like some of the ones in between. I'm not aware what's in them versus some of these. Like I can say that,
I think it was another one with Nicola and someone else. They were doing some kind of workshop.
Yeah, there was definitely. So I've got this one. Who is this one?
Before we were using Monday.com, our team was drowning.
Okay, well, here's an ad for somebody. Okay, now this is still.
If you can add Nicola, maybe.
Yeah, okay, good point. Okay, this one.
Yes,
right?
this one.
Okay, that's good.
I think I found only this three actually.
Okay.
Maybe there are more, but at least if we can have these three based one, we could.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure. Let's see.
I think you did two presentations actually, don't you?
Yeah, I think those first two were. So maybe here's this one. So this is Kevin. So
Kevin and Gabriel was given us a year ago about these asynchronous functions.
Right. So
okay.
That one's different. Here's another one by Gabriel, which I think is probably related.
Missed this one. Perfect. See, we found so many different cool videos, and just having them in one place, I think it's already beneficial to many people, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I definitely. And then let's see what else. Anything else come up? Or maybe if I say node conf. Okay, so here's, is that the same one? No, I'll paste it in there and see. No, it's a different one. Okay, that's not a YouTube. It's not a video. Oh, right, YouTube. Okay, I think that's maybe the low-hanging fruit anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing. We have 6 videos.
Yep.
If somebody wants to start and learn, like they have good start.
Yeah, yeah. No, and then we can build on to the some directly onto that. That sounds good. Okay. Anything more on that one before we move on?
No.
Okay, I think a list of C language bindings. So I know Nicola's not here, is working on that, but I don't think there's any updates. I'll just move on. I don't think there's any update in terms of new issues since we last talked. Sometimes we do look at NPM node add-on API. Just still heading upwards, not quite hit 10 million, but getting there, so that's good. I didn't want that. Right, I think I can go back. I haven't done this testing for debug stale issues, so let's flip over to there. So no new ones, so let's see. This one, there's been ongoing discussion with the Electron team. I think there's still worth the question I did want to talk about on that one was I created this PR, which Legendicast, thanks for taking a look and finding my gap, and your suggestion of adding a test for the positive case is good. I was thinking maybe I'll just add that defined to one of the existing tests that doesn't use the external buffers. Does that make sense to you as well?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You see,
Okay.
we just adding the macro and didn't use the API at all. We just make sure it can correctly compile with this macro.
Right. I guess from your comment, I thought originally, I could copy and make a new add-on to do that. But I think just adding it into one of the existing add-ons that doesn't need it is probably simpler, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to do that. There was a suggestion. So it sounds like just what's in there is enough. And I think it'd be good to keep it in 2 separate PRs. But the next question is, there was a suggestion of adding another method, which I'm thinking seems like a reasonable next step. And I wondered what you two think about that. Adding that as another API, which would be like in the latest Node API version.
I would be like say, I think it would be easier for us to and for the add-on authors to having a help function which may exist in their own library or in Node add-on API, since we can achieve the same thing with the existing Node API, and add-on authors don't have to wait for the API to be released in the full cycle of Node API version.
Right. So definitely like in Node add-on API, we can implement the equivalent without any new APIs. So you're thinking that maybe we should just have like an example of the code versus actually adding a new API.
Yeah, right. I believe the help function can be straightforward for them. And add-on authors can choose the right course. If they didn't like the copying, then that's fine.
Right.
And yeah.
I see. Okay, so you did comment on here. So you're like, hey, let's just do an example. And okay. Okay.
So I did
So
we don't add a new API to Node API itself, right?
Yeah, every new API will need a full cycle or a new Node API version release. Like
Right.
say, I think maybe months or it's quite long compared to Node add-on API release.
Yeah, I agree with you because I think one of our guidance, we're not supposed to add API which are convenience APIs. If we can achieve this functionality of existing APIs, we should not add new, right?
yeah, no, you
Yeah,
don't want to make it huge. So that's true. Yeah. And it really is basically make one call. Make one call and then call the other one.
Right, it can be added to our C++ Node API, Node add-on API.
Right. That is, once this PR gets backported to all the versions, until that happens, you're kind of stuck because there's no way you make the call, you might crash on the older versions.
But maybe it can be, if it's small, then maybe it can be backported.
Right. Yeah. Like I am thinking that hopefully this is relatively innocuous, right? So we can get it backported in.
Oh, please correct me if I'm wrong. Do we need a new version for the new status?
I was wondering about that. So I'm thinking not. I don't think we have we haven't. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. I mean, I didn't notice any version guards in the existing node status definition.
Yeah.
So I believe we didn't require that since it's purely primitive values.
Yeah, and I think it actually would be quite hard to have them there because, like, what if you have two experimental ones and you put them in a certain order, and then you actually land the second one, but not the first one, it'll get a new number. So I almost think that, like, once we add a status, we can't get rid of them. And if you look at the current one, there's like a one that's commented out that just says not used. So
yeah, makes sense.
I think it's like, yeah, for those, we just add them. And even if it's experimental, it goes in. If we end up removing it, it basically just becomes something that you'll never get that return code. So yeah, that is one thing I want, it's good to have us all think about, but I was thinking that wouldn't necessarily, it might be Semver minor. Like this PR could be Semver minor because it's adding a new, some new options that you can't use. Like the define.
It's definitely, it's definitely a new feature, right? Then, according to the Semver semantics, then probably it's not just a simple fix. It's a new feature, so it's probably best fit into the Semver minor. Yeah.
Right, and it's like, I guess I'm thinking of the case. So you compile against, say you compile against a newer version of Node where you can check that. If you run that on an older version, you're never going to get that error code, but it's not going to give you an error if you compile with that with you. No, I don't think you're going to get an error. You're just never going to get that error code back. So things will still run.
And yeah, it's just crashes and crashes afterwards at some random access.
Right. I think the main thing, which is Semver Minor, is the define. No, because if you define the define, it'll just do nothing as well, right? So there might be some argument for it being Semver patch, and that like, even if you use these, you know, compiling against a version that doesn't have them won't cause you a problem.
Look, I don't have a strong opinion on this. Yeah.
We should probably discuss a little bit more in the issue itself, yeah, whether it's Semver Minor or if we can make, because if it's Semver patch, it'll actually be easier to get it back into the earlier versions. So if we can actually make a case for that, then it'll be a bit easier.
Oh, I just noticed a couple of things. If we can go to this pull request.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't see this pull request before.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, if you go to files changed, if you look on, you have added new error code in API types.
API types, this one, yeah.
So you see, like there is a comment below says like if we add new something there, we need to also update function content, and I don't see you change this function. Get last error.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that comment below. Got it.
Oh,
I will do that. Can you just well, I can make here, I'll add a comment. Yeah, from team meeting. PR is missing adding to Nappy get last error info. Okay.
And I was also looking at this. I'm not sure if macro is correct macro. With the V8 compressed pointers and shared code.
If you want to take a look and you have some way to be more sure, what I did is like we have a team, somebody working on our V8 team who's implementing pointer cage for PowerPC and S390, and that's what they told me was the right one.
Did you see that? Because technically today, Electron team, they did this patch inside of their code, and I was actually seeing what they were doing there.
Okay.
I can't remember out of my head right now immediately, but I may actually look and confirm.
Yeah, if you can find that one and like comment in here and say, well, hey, they used this one, that would be yeah. Because I don't have a great way to test that. Although, sorry, what I did do. So let's see, I defined that and I ran some testing.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can dig up that Electron patch and we could see what they used and checked, because like that would be another way to validate. Because yeah, I did what I could to figure out if this is the right one, but being more sure would be better. It's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll add the link to the APR. I found that it has a bit more other changes because it seems like they also fixing some other related bugs there.
Okay.
So a little bit different area. Maybe it's worth to look at the APR, and so you can kind of augment yours.
Definitely. Yeah, it would be nice if we could see, hey, yeah, they used the exact same one. Because I found 3 that had cage in them. There was one was like caged heap. There was this one, and then there was compressed pointers in isolate cage. And the explanation I got was like the isolate cage was the case where you've got compressed pointers on, but you're not, like, we wouldn't run into this case. It was just the shared cage was the one that would cause it. But yeah, if you can find that and tag that on there, I'll take a look at it and see if it confirms or denies that we've got the right things.
I was looking through this V8 and I was seeing the changes macro. At some point, they lost me.
Yeah.
They were changing, like as they implemented this caging features. I've seen that they they have like through the last year they're changing name of the kind of macro.
Okay.
I'm not completely sure about, but I just know like a PR and Electron code they have a little bit more changes.
Okay. Yep. No, yeah, if you can tag that on there, I'll take a look.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for everybody's looking at that one. Anything else on this one we want to chat about? So like, yeah, we won't necessarily rush to create a new method. Maybe an example somewhere would be good. And I guess Chenzong, should we do it in Node add-on API itself? Like there, we could actually implement something, although maybe that can't really be implemented until we go back, until this gets backported.
Do you mean the convenient method?
Yeah, we could add a convenience method in Node add-on API, which was like the copy or create.
Yeah, you see, Node add-on API is testing of all supported LTS versions.
Mhm.
So if any of the LTS versions is not adding is not get backported with this feature, then it will just the test will fail.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could work around that in the test. The question is, should we or not? But okay, well, think more about that. I think I'll spend my energy just getting this landed first, and then we can think about next steps.
And I think it's exactly what I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's exactly what the developer was asking. Like, at least it's the way I read it. They were asking about changes Node add-on API to add this method there.
Right. Okay. Versus in the core.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Mentioning LTS versions, I'm not sure which versions does this cage landed. You know, this cage is this feature is rather a rather new features. I'm not sure, like say 14 get these features.
Right. Okay. So, well, you mean the version of V8, right? So the version, okay, that's a very good point. Like the version of V8, that's, yeah, got it.
Yeah, maybe just need to check about it.
Yeah, and that's because the question is like, does Electron? Okay, actually, that's a really good question. So let me ask Lavelle.
Yeah, I did a very quick search and I didn't find any cage keywords in the V8 code on the Node 14 branch.
Okay. Can you do a same search on 16 just quickly?
Yeah. Yeah, 16 got this feature landed.
Okay. I wonder, it's like, does Electron, what versions?
But we still need to backport the status code to the 14, right? Even though it's not used on that version.
If you want to compile against that and you have it run with later ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So never mind. We probably want to backport to all of them. Right. Okay. And hopefully we can make the case that like there's no risk to Node because it's not really, or very low risk because it effectively doesn't change anything.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And in fact, for 14, anyway, if there's a real concern, we could just backport just the definition of the status code and that's it.
Yeah, sounds great.
Right. Okay, no, that's good. Any other discussion on that one? No, okay, so that was in our stale issues, I think. This one. So we're just still waiting on the feature bits. This one. I think there is a
didn't
PR,
find
but there's
any-
some so go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't find any updates on the PR, so maybe we just wait Kevin.
Yeah.
Wait.
Working on it, but I think right.
Yeah,
So
this
again, we
is
need the
waiting and,
flags.
yeah. This is a rather interesting one. We just got a new issue in the Node Core 2. You can go for the link in
This one here. Okay.
in the mentioned. Yeah, it's about the clean up orders. Currently we are running the cleanup hooks added by the Node API first, and then we are disrupting the Node API environment, and the federalization callbacks are invoked in the destruction of the Node API environment. So the cleanup hooks are invoked first before the other add-on callbacks like federalization callbacks. So the add-ons might access these data that might have been released in the cleanup hooks in the finalizer callbacks. So that can be a problem, but I didn't see very lot of complaints. But the core problem I can see with this existing behaviors, since we cannot change that already, I believe, since it all matters.
Is it documented anywhere? Like, do we promise an order for these things at all?
No, but I found it can be a solution to another problem, like say this existing behaviors.
Okay.
That's a Kevin's linked Node add-on API issue. We can go back to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe, and not this one.
Not this one. This one. This one.
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
You can go to the top of the issue.
Yeah.
You can see
Oops,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, it's the top. Yeah, right. You can see the definition of the class. Basically, the declarative functions are released a member of the object wrap, and it can be released once the object wrap is finalized, which means it can be released in the shutdown process of the environment, of which triggers the finalization callback. And the problem here is that the declarative function itself can also be released with the finalization callback triggered by the shutdown. We have also received complaints about this behavior since users might still have reference count on it, but never mind. The problem here is that the declarative function here can be released twice. One is from the Node API environment, and one from this object wrap finalization callback. And if the search function is released in the Node API environment first, then the problem here can be then that's the problem. What the problem here we got? If the object wrap finalization callback is run first, then there is no problem at all. It's just fine, since if the search function is released in the user land first, then Node API environment will not finalize it again. So I can see the core problem here is that user code have no options on what is the finalized correct, what users expected expected correct order of this objects, like say object wrap or the say function.
Right.
And but the fortunate news is that if user add-on checks this allocated object and release them all at once in their own cleanup hooks, then all of these issues can be gone. They can decide which order they release these objects with cleanup hooks, and the cleanup hooks are invoked before the finalization callback at the shutdown of the node environment.
Okay, and these are cleanup hooks on the thread safe functions or the environment?
The cleanup hooks on the environment.
Okay.
You see, the cleanup hooks are run before the node API environment. So the finalization callback are invoked after the cleanup hooks. So
right, okay.
Users can, they can release these objects first in the cleanup hooks, and since the cleanup hooks are running user codes, then they can decide what orders they would expect to correctly release their own objects.
Right. So basically, are you saying we maybe just need to document the order that they're run?
Yes, I'm thinking that with this cleanup hook mechanism, we can help these add-ons to release these objects correctly. We do this in Node core too, since V8 doesn't invoke it doesn't share any finalization callbacks at shutdown for the weak callbacks. And Node core have to keep track of all allocated objects and release them all at once at the shutdown.
Yeah.
So I believe that might be a more feasible and robust approach for user land add-ons to do the same thing, to release their data and the objects with their own code or own callback.
Versus using like a finalizer.
Yeah, no, I mean, finalizers are great, but the problem is that the tricky problem is at the shutdown, we don't know, the node core don't know the correct order for the user land code, since user land code can be very it's unpredictable for node core which the order is, since user can release the JSON function first, or they expect the object to be released first.
Okay. So in terms of the next step, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking about adding a new section about this, how to handle shutdown of the Node API environment properly. in the Node API document section and adding new examples, like say how to check these finalizers and the state function, especially about the state function finalization at the shutdown, since we previously got a issue about the complaints about the state function finalization at the moment of node environment shutdown. I can find the link.
Right. Yeah, well, that all sounds good. So like some more documentation that, you know, explains the way it works, and then the examples. That sounds like a really good way to help people. And if we do get, we got somebody to point them.
Yeah, I posted the link of the previous discussion of the function in the chat.
Okay. Oops.
Yeah, you can see it's about the shutdown of the environment too. The problem is it's about the finalization callback.
Right. Okay, so this is again another one related to the same problem.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we should chat about this one? It sounds like you've got some good ideas for the next steps. And
yeah, I will just bring this topic up to see if you have any ideas, and if it's all good, I can go to the documentation part.
I think, yeah, I think the it sounds reasonable to me. So writing up the documentation, and then we can look at that.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Sorry, not there. Where are we? Not there. Let's see if I can. Oh, yeah, that was where we were. So this we looked at. Right, this is the one you were just talking about, right? And then
Yeah.
this one, I think, Vladimir, you're looking at that one point, right?
Yeah, I didn't do any progress like
Yeah.
that.
No problem. Okay, so we've got through our stale issues. This one we already talked about. This one, I don't think there's any updates. So then we can go over to add-on API. So, okay, so this one is a recent one, but I don't think we need to necessarily talk about. This one is, there's still some discussion. I don't think there's anything new there. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at any of these. Okay, so that looks like Nick's already responded. Any others of these that we should talk about?
With exception not code, a bit lost. Is it pointing a bug we have? Or? Do we promise? Like, do we need to change the documentation, or we need to kind of fix it?
Right, when I call
So apparently we're not doing this try catch.
I think this is their code is passed up to JavaScript, but the other question would be, we have different ways of compiling. Like sometimes C++ exceptions are not turned on, but pending C++ into a Java, right? So I guess it'd be nice to actually have like the code that we could see, right? So maybe that, like if they've got a simple recreate, we should add a test and through that we can see if we think it makes sense or not, right? And go from there. So we can also try and create one from what the description is, but
it sounds like they're just doing a normal callback, like say implementing a function and
yeah, I'd have to see what our test cases have or don't have, right?
yeah.
Be good to see something specific, and then that would, if we can write a failing test case, then we can definitely see if we've missed a catch or something somewhere.
Sounds good.
Okay, let me just quickly switch over to Node. Issues. And whenever, okay. There we go. So I think this is the one you were already talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Any others? So that I don't see anything else new. Any of the other ones? I think Vladimir, you said you wanted to chat a bit about the one you're working on.
Sorry, sorry, I was muted. About references and features.
Right. Okay. Let me see, ref. Do you know the number offhand or this one here?
Yeah, this is one.
Okay. Yep.
So I just added 2 new unit tests.
Okay.
So because apparently we have 2 different ways to how we can initialize module. We can say an API module and an API module init. In order to have this init stuff, I have to put them inside of this node API. And what's interesting thing that I found that then we do object only because I want to test both cases with old behavior and new behavior. I found that then we do references for symbols, and symbols does not seem to have a big reference semantic. So I have this test. If you can you click on this last C file, like
This
test
one?
init reference object only.
Yeah.
You scroll all the way down. Oh, sorry, it's no, it's JavaScript file. Sorry, test.js.
This one. Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm going too far. Okay, this one.
Oh, okay. It's some lint issues. I didn't find anything local, but here.
It always gets me too. I don't know why, but that, yeah.
And if you scroll to the bottom of this test.js file, see over here, like so what I'm doing, like I pretty much all these references supposed to be, they already have ref count 0 and supposed to be garbage collected. But what I found that pretty much all of them supposed to return null. But if you look on line 96, I have to put special exception for symbols, and apparently they're not collected, and it means that symbols don't really have in our existing code, they don't have a weak reference semantic. We allow to have symbols to be part of an API ref, but
Right.
then ref count goes to 0, even we initiating all these different things. But it seems like inside of V8 JavaScript engine, the symbols do not have weak reference semantic. So it means that even we're saying yes, it's supposed to be weak, but in fact they're not collected. This weak reference, in fact, it's strong reference inside of the V8 engine.
Right. I guess are you 100% sure that they would never be collected, or they just like there's no guarantee when the GC will collect things. So I just wonder, is it like, are we falling into a case where they just don't get collected, or are they never collected?
I don't know. I'm running GC a few times. Like it's trying to do it at least twice over here.
We'd probably have to look at the code in V8 to see, like, is it that they are different? Like, can we confirm there that like they treat symbols as something like, hey, I'm never collecting your symbols, which is possible.
Okay. Yeah, I see also some issues in this test I need to fix. Anyway,
But yeah, I know it is interesting. So that's something to look at and understand a little bit, like is, and what does that mean? Like, have we set the expectation that they will get collected and something can happen? Or like with the GC, like there's no really guarantee, I guess. We run finalizers sometimes for people, but otherwise there's no guarantee a GC, like a garbage collector, will ever collect any particular object. It can choose not to, right?
Okay, let me check existing tests for references to symbols. I want to understand. It's what I kind of start to add this test today morning, and I was surprised that I had to do something special about symbols.
We did add them after the fact, so like I won't be surprised if there's something wrong there. But I'm also like it's always like the determinism of what and when things get collected is always sometimes been a problem in our tests in the first place.
I've seen such behavior, for example, in Hermes engines. They say like they don't prohibit you to establish like weak reference to some other types, like a number of string, but these weak references internally really behave as strong references.
Right. So and then the first question is like, is that what's actually happening? If so, then is it a problem in terms of our APIs and what we say?
No, it's not a problem. It's more like because ideally, like if we're saying we're going to 0 and we're saying it's weak reference, and weak reference, like Cheng Zhong said before, we can actually, if, for example, we don't support weak reference functionality, we can just simply kill the object, make it, release it, right? So I guess my question, like, what is correct behavior would be for symbols? Should we instead, then we go with ref count to 0? Should we, instead of keeping the strong reference to symbol, should we rather kind of completely destroy it, because we know that V8 does not support weak reference semantic for symbols?
I guess the question though is like, what if some other engine does?
I know that Hermes for sure does not.
Right.
And also, it's not JavaScript standard. Like something what I was hoping to change with this PR, not to have big reference semantic for symbols, but I actually see that V8 does not even support it. So we effectively
from what I can tell, TC39 is trying to add a new semantics for the symbols they are trying to add the symbol, adding symbols to the to be able to be added as a weak map key. So if that's possible, then weak semantics must be implemented for the symbols.
Okay, so you're saying that because it can be used as a key.
Yeah, it's a stage 3 proposal, but I suppose engines are. I'm not sure what they're planning, but they definitely are looking into it.
I see. Because they definitely don't support a weak reference semantic for strings, right?
it's definitely not allowing them to be wiki referenced with the, like, say, wiki ref or any other, but I'm not sure. I right now I'm not sure about it. Just
Okay. Anyway, that's what it would be great if like Michael will have a look on this PR, but
Sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely on my list. Sorry, just
I may need to kind of clarify a bit with semantic for symbols.
okay.
Even like in terms of should we actually fix current behavior?
Right. Sounds good. Okay, we are at time and I need to run. So thanks for everybody for coming this week, and we'll see you in GitHub and next week.